Time for the Burning River Sportscast. It's spooky season and Myles Garrett's front yard is decorated. The ghouls and goblins were loaded with tricks and treats on Sunday at M&T Bank Stadium, and unfortunately for the Browns, it became a real horror show as they lose their fourth straight October football game. Fire and brimstone are toiling under the seats of both Joe Woods and Kevin Stefanski, and with the season slipping away, there may not be enough pumpkin spice left to prevent Freddy Krueger and Joe Burrow from slashing our dreams and putting a final nail in the coffin during our Halloween showdown with the Bengals. And we break it all down for you next on the Burning River Sportscast. So much gas. F them.
F them all.
Of course that's a 60-yard touchdown because the defensive back ate shit.
I was trying to fit it all in.
And I ride with him and Jeff Bezos all the way to the moon, then I'll be on the moon.
Big penis rocket?
Why are there so many dongs? Welcome to the Burning River Sportscast, presented by Tapin Media. I'm Kenny Thunder, alongside my colleague, the man who wrote the original score to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Red Hot Ronnie Jams. Ronnie, tell our friends where they can find the most delectable sweets curated by the fine folks at Tapin Media.
You can find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. That's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, and more. So how was your weekend, Kenny?
My weekend was good. I spent the whole week in Gulf Shores. I never thought Alabama would be someplace I'd want to vacation.
I never thought Alabama would be someplace you want to be at all.
No, not really. But it's a pretty spectacular beach down there. I will definitely be going back. We had a great house out on the beach, right on the water. So, it makes me wonder sometimes why we live here.
Fair.
You walk out every day and the sun is shining and it's warm and there's an ocean and you just feel better about life.
Listen, I could live in Ohio like 80% of the year as far as I like the summer, I like the seasons. What I don't like is after that very first snow and it gets real shitty in the roads and everybody's just yelling at each other and mad because they're late for work and it's cold and I don't like it.
No, I like snow for...
1 day.
From Christmas to New Year's.
No, 1 day.
I'll take it for the whole week.
Well, agree to disagree.
But Gulf Shores was nice. Highly recommend. We'll definitely be going back. What about you?
Great weekend. It's my wife's birthday. So she's officially a cougar again, in case anyone was wondering. She is now 1 year older than me as of yesterday.
That's not how age works.
It is.
She's only ever a finite...
If you take her age and minus my age, you get the number one. So
she's only ever a finite amount of
You're
days
just mad because
older than
sometimes you're 2 years older than me, and sometimes you're only one.
That's not a thing.
But anyways, it was we celebrated her birthday all weekend. Good times. I mean, we just kind of hung out, and she's pretty far along. We can't really travel like we usually do for her birthday, so we made the best of it here in shitty old Ohio, like you would say.
Glad to hear it. The Browns helped, no doubt.
No, I actually had to rewatch the game later, which I think is actually more painful. Knowing what the outcome's going to be.
Knowing what happened?
Yeah, I had to rewatch it later because, like I said, her birthday was actually Sunday, so we were busy all day with birthday stuff, and I had to just kind of record it and watch it later. But yeah, it was awfully, awfully painful watching it, knowing it wasn't going to go our way.
2-5.
Yeah, I mean, we are officially trash. I think we said that last week, but now we're like officially trash.
We spent a lot of time mocking the Carolina Panthers this year and Baker and everything. We have the same record as the Carolina Panthers, who, by the way, started an XFLer this week.
And won. We'll get that later, but I think we have to officially put ourselves in the trash bin. If we didn't last week, I thought we did last week, but if we didn't, then we officially need to because now we have the same record as them and the trash Steelers. So
it's so bad. Let's get into it.
All right, Week 7 recap. Here we go. All right, so as always, let's go ahead and start with the Ravens. We'll start with their offense. Lamar Jackson didn't really have a great game. Actually, probably his worst game of the season. He went 9 of 16 for 120 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 10 rushes for 59 yards, and no touchdowns there.
Yeah, not a remarkable game by any means. I think we kept waiting for him to do something, and it never happened.
I just expected it.
Towards the end of the game, I was pretty convinced that if we gave the ball back to him, that was when something was finally going to happen, because he just has a history of doing that to us. But didn't come to that. They didn't need to do that to beat us. So, but yeah, I mean, he hurt us on a couple plays with his feet, but nothing remarkable.
Yeah, and like I said, I had to watch it later in the day. But the only thing I didn't check was stats. I just looked at I saw the score, but I didn't see the stats. So same as you, I was sitting there. I was like, he's got to do something good here, but he never really did.
And we've talked a lot about Joe Woods' defense over the last few weeks. I mean, I give credit to the defense for holding him in check for most of the day.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's another thing we'll get into down the road here in this episode, but. I think it's one week that you can't actually blame Joe Woods completely for the loss.
Yeah, there's still some Joe Woods blame, but they did a good job containing Lamar.
Yeah. So we'll get back to that. Gus Edwards, this is where it got kind of dicey. 16 carries, 66 yards, not a ton of yards, but 2 touchdowns from Gus Edwards.
Yeah, this is where I would place the Joe Woods blame, because he didn't have a huge day on the ground statistically, but there were moments in that game where we just could not stop him. We could not stop the inside run to save ourselves, which elongated their drives and essentially let them run the clock all day.
Elongated. That's a funny word. Kenyon Drake.
And he did have 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he did.
And the first one was literally untouched from like 8 yards. It wasn't like a 1 yard run. This was like almost a 10-yard run. Not a hand on him.
We ain't want it. Kenyon Drake, 11 carries for 5 yards. Did a pretty good job on that guy.
Yeah, I thought Kenyon would have a better day against our rush defense. But he didn't. 11 carries. It didn't feel like he had 11 carries.
He did. He didn't do anything with them. Justice Hill, 5 carries, 26 yards, pretty much a non-factor.
Except for the fumble that gave us life at the end of the game.
Yeah, that's what I mean, non-factor for his team. He didn't do anything good for his team.
F the Ravens.
Yeah, F them all.
F them all.
Subdued F them all, because we haven't even got to Cleveland yet.
We're
that's
the
where
worst.
It's depressing. Mark Andrews, I mean, good Lord, you tell me that Lamar Jackson had the game that he had, and Mark Andrews had a goose egg as a receiver and only 1 rush for 4 yards. And I'm like, yeah, we definitely won that game. We had to have, right?
Yeah, and I actually wrote down, like in my notes early, but like the pregame notes, that I just hate Mark Andrews.
Oh,
that guy shreds us.
Who doesn't?
They did a spot during the pregame with him, and I just wanted to punch his face the entire time.
Is it one of those times where you just take the TV and just slam it?
Yeah, I wasn't happy.
You were on vacation. That's not your TV.
But fortunately, he didn't do anything. So,
yeah.
F you, Mark Andrews.
Yeah. The Ravens' defense played pretty well. 5 sacks. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
They forced 2 turnovers, but they couldn't stop the run. Unfortunately, we didn't want to run the ball, but they couldn't stop the run. And I just have in here that we just suck.
Yeah. I would say their defense did come away with some sacks in this game and pressures. And to Jacoby's credit, he did a good job of getting out of a few of those things. But they definitely were creating.
He's so freaking mobile.
They were creating havoc back there, and I think a large part of that was Jedrick Wills had just an awful day. Was just turnstile watching Jacoby on a lot of plays.
It's a couple games in a row now. He's starting to struggle a little bit. So, I mean, that's pretty much it for the Ravens, though. I don't want to keep talking about them. They didn't really do anything to beat us. We kind of beat ourselves. So let's get into what really beat us in this game. Let's go over to the Cleveland side here. Start with coaching. Mike Prefer. We'll start with him. I know you love him.
Look, I'm out of things to say about their special teams unit. They're not good. You hold your breath every time they touch the field, whether it's an extra point, whether it's a punt. We're to the point where I don't want to see a return. I just want you to fair catch the ball, and I want you to catch it. because I want the possession.
Isn't it pretty sad that when you say that, that's even a risk? We don't even know for sure if we'll be able to catch it.
Yeah, I don't want you to. I don't want you to even think about running it, so that you have that on your mind. Just continual lapses on the line penalties, just poor judgment, decision making across the board. Mike Prefer's got to go.
My note on him: trash. Joe Woods, like I said, you can't really put all the blame on him this week. I know, like you said, there were some issues stopping like Gus Edwards, letting him elongate some drives. But, I mean, overall, their defense, when you tell me, like I said, Lamar Jackson had 120 yards passing, 59 yards rushing, no touchdowns. And then Mark Andrews didn't do anything. Like, they played fairly well.
Yeah, I mean, statistically, I think if you looked at that game, just the box score, you'd say that the defense played pretty well. And watching it was a different story. It felt like they could run the ball on us all day long. It felt like on 3rd and long that they were able to convert on those downs. But to be fair, they did hold Lamar Jackson in check, which I didn't have a whole lot of faith that they could do.
I think overall this was legitimately their best defensive game the entire year.
Could be.
Because, I mean, you had some tall orders this week, and they actually held their own.
And they did come up with the timely fumble, whether Justice Hill handed it to us or
was that JOK?
Or whether they pushed it out. They came up with a turnover in the moment we needed it.
Yeah. Didn't JOK get credited with the forced fumble?
I think so.
He got graded at like 91% by PFF this week, so it's pretty good. Kevin Stefanski, the man of the hour.
Man of the hour.
Oh, man. So, first of all, I've got 3rd and 2 here. On the drive to go win the game, we got 3rd and 2, and we tried to throw 2 bombs.
Yeah, so I had that for later in the game, but
go ahead.
But there was a lot of talk about the phantom offsides penalty on the kick to kind of end the game. But this game wasn't lost on that or any other play during this game. It was lost on that 3rd and 2 with about 2.5 minutes left. You're on your side of the football
field. My
field.
apologies, not the game-winning drive, the attempted game-winning drive, the one before that.
Yes, and it's 3rd and 2. You have the best player on the field on both teams. He's on your team,
but not by a small margin, by a lot.
By a large margin. He's the best player, and he was the best player on the field on Sunday, statistically as well. I mean, he was the best player out there, and he's not even on the field. He's on the sideline on 3rd and 2, and you're roasting the ball down the sideline. And you know what? It was a dime, and Coop caught it, but he also was hand fighting with the DB, which is pretty typical in an end game situation. They're going to play physical because they don't get a lot of those calls at DPI anyway. The push off, I know there was a lot of talk about that, but he pushed off.
Yeah, I mean, by the definition of what that call is, and you like we've talked about it before. Neither of us played at the NFL level, but you're as a DB. Even that slight push-off that he gave was enough to completely reroute the DB's body to make him not be able to make a play.
And I know people were saying, it was soft. But here's the thing. Coop didn't even stop afterward and pretend like he didn't.
Right. Well, and the other side of it, too, like I look at it and my question to Coop, why'd you do it in the first place?
Yeah,
you
didn't need to.
By 2 steps.
Yeah, you had him beat.
Just run and catch the ball.
It was a good ball and it was a touchdown. But that's the thing, and that's why play calling is so important, and because this is the rudimentary stuff, right? This is the defensive backs, deep as the deepest. On offense, running the ball is always exponentially safer because when you put the ball in the air, there's more bad things that can happen than when you run the ball.
Absolutely.
And it was unnecessary. It was unnecessary, and there's too much time left on the clock. I was thinking that whole time, if you kick a field goal here or if you score a touchdown with 2 minutes left and you're going to give the ball back to Lamar Jackson, there's too much time left. That was the note that I had as they were driving.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Lamar Jackson's roasted us at the end of a game before.
No. Like he hasn't just taken off and put the game on his shoulders. Like, he can do that. So the play was to continue to run the clock. And hell, all of Brownstown was mad when Nick Chubb scored the touchdown earlier in the year because there was too much time on the clock. This was the time to run clock. This was the time to elongate the drive.
Nope. Nope, didn't want it.
Nope, we thought, let's play the game of how strong is Cade York's leg? Let's just get into this game of how far back can we go to put the game on a rookie kicker again.
That's what drives me nuts is since a few weeks ago when we said, let Cade York kick the ball, Kevin Stefanski seems to be a big fan of, I'll let him kick the ball, but let's see how far he can kick the ball.
3rd and 2. You have 2 plays to get 2 yards.
And Nick Chubb averages 5.5 yards a carry.
Run the ball.
Pretty simple. Speaking of him not running the ball, there should never be a game where Nick Chubb has less than 20 carries. Ever. So let me just throw this out there for you, Kevin Stefanski. You idiot.
You idiot.
We are 2-0 this season when Nick Chubb gets 20-plus carries. We're 0-5 when he doesn't. It seems pretty simple. I mean, and I don't know how many times, how many different ways Cleveland fans, and I know they're fans, you don't want to listen to them, you're the smartest coach on the planet, so Cleveland fans, Cleveland analysts, anybody that covers Cleveland football, they've told you all season long and they continue to tell you, run the football. Give Nick Chubb his 20 carries. He's the best player on the field. But you know what we keep not doing? Giving Nick Chubb his carries.
There's no excuse for it. And I mean that statistic alone, it should be like number one on when you're doing your analytics. Hey,
how do we get Nick Chubb 20 carries?
When this guy runs the ball more, we win, and when he doesn't, we lose.
Like I don't care. Like if you're playing that bad where you're off schedule so often, 3rd and long, I don't care. Run it to Nick Chubb every once in a while. He's actually proven in the past. I can remember quite a few 3rd and longs that we've had where it was 3rd and 9 or longer.
Oh yeah.
And he ends up getting a first down because they're sitting here waiting for a pass, and he gets a draw up the middle and just carries people to the first down.
Give Nick Chubb a soft box, and he'll give you 15 yards.
Soft box. He gets 15 yards on every soft box. And then another thing that I think has become a staple of Kevin Stefanski teams is they're all undisciplined. Every single one of them. We're very, very good at getting penalties, forgetting assignments. Just discipline is not in his repertoire.
And we keep saying this every week, right? It's not players in terms of talent. It's not even scheme, because when they script the first drive of the game, it's usually phenomenal.
We almost always score the first drive of the game, we never score again. So,
but it's that in-game management, and to your point, being disciplined and knowing where you're supposed to be, and picking up assignments, and everybody doing their damn job, and they just can't get on the same page.
Yeah. So that's it for the coaches. We all know they suck. Don't know when they're going to get their shit together. Hope it's soon. Probably not. We'll probably keep losing. Don't got an easy one coming up. Let's get into the offense. On offense, Jacoby Brissett, he's back to being his efficient self. He was 22 of 27, 258 yards, no touchdowns, but no interceptions, 3 rushes for 18 yards, and he just, like I said, he was efficient, wasn't good, wasn't bad.
This was a Jacoby Brissett ceiling game, right? This is as good as he can play.
And I will say this too for Jacoby: the O-line did not help him in this game at all.
No, the O-line was bad, but he made do, and he did enough to put you in a position to win the game.
Yeah, and as much as he played a decent game, I will say this: you know, the moment that I knew we were in trouble in this game is after the first drive, or the first quarter, I'm sorry, he was 7 of 7 for 141 yards.
It's too many.
What do I say all the time? Jacoby tops out at 250 yards. If you're telling me that he had 141 in the first quarter, you're also telling me he's having 110 the rest of the game.
So, and that was accurate. 258 on the day.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say about Brissett that he's done a really nice job of this year is with his mobility. I tried to tell you before the season started. He's not a mobile quarterback.
Well, I beg to differ by the eye test.
Let's not pretend that he is. He's not fast. He's not elusive. But he has exceeded his own skill set in that regard several times in the last few weeks. Specifically on Sunday, there was a couple plays where I don't know how he got away. He was just pulling spin moves back there. And it's just it's enjoyable to watch because he's just such a big lumbering guy.
He's to quote the announcer from earlier this year for when he was talking about Nick Chubb, he's just such a load.
I liked when they called Nick Chubb a refrigerator with feet. But yeah, Jacoby's kind of like that. He's kind of a refrigerator with feet because he's not fast, but he used his feet to get
Listen,
out of trouble.
Regarding his mobility this season and our argument back and forth on whether or not he's elusive and can get out of trouble.
How many yards does he have on the year? 90?
Fool me once, shame on you.
He's not a mobile quarterback.
Fool me twice, you ain't going to fool me again. And he just keeps getting out of trouble. So
he's good at getting out of trouble.
Yeah, thank you. Nick Chubb, he was basically the whole offense, despite barely getting the ball. But I'm not even going to talk about him here because...
can we just say 16 carries?
16 carries.
Not enough.
Yep. So we'll talk about him again soon.
Any team at any point in history, in NFL history, that has Nick Chubb on it, that gives him the ball 16 times, you deserve to lose.
Yeah. Kareem Hunt, 5 carries, 4 yards. He did get a touchdown. He had 1 reception for 4 yards. Look, trade deadline's coming up, man. And if you can't figure out how to use this guy, it's been probably 2 or 3 weeks in a row now where they've had trouble working him into the offense. And on top of that, as we just discussed, he's taking carries away from Nick Chubb, who's the best player on the field. If you can't figure out how to use this guy, we've got Dearness Johnson. He's going to give you these same numbers. Let's go get some picks.
And I know he had the touchdown, but that touchdown came on the heels of like a 25-yard run by Nick Chubb, who was just gassed at the time.
Yeah, that's not. I've loved having Kareem Hunt on the Browns. He gives us an awesome 1-2 punch, but a lot of his touchdowns have come on the heels of Nick Chubb having a big run. Yeah. And that's not to put down Kareem or anything. That's just to show you that Nick Chubb is we need to get him more carries.
Look, I love Kareem. To your point, like I love that he's on the Cleveland Browns, a local guy, all that stuff. Like, cool, love Kareem. He's outlived his usefulness here.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, nothing against him. It's more so because Chubb has become such an asset.
If Nick Chubb wasn't on the team, I would be stoked that we had Kareem Hunt as our starting running back.
Yeah, but we got Nick Chubb.
But we have Nick Chubb, so there's no need for him there, because the only reason you even have another running back is if Nick Chubb gets hurt, is tired, and needs to come out of the game. Yep. And Nick Chubb, I don't know if you've seen this guy work out. Like, he can run the ball 30 times in a game, and he would be fine.
Oh yeah, he'd be good to go. And like we said, Dearness Johnson is going to give you these same numbers. It's not like we have a terrible back behind.
5 carries for 4 yards. Yeah, he could probably do that.
Yeah, I mean. Even the numbers that Kareem usually puts up, he's usually around 5 yards a carry. Dearness Johnson can do that.
And I don't want to dog on Kareem, but
none of this is dogging on Kareem. We love Kareem.
But I'm going to dog on him real quick. I do think he doesn't look as explosive this year coming off the injury as he did last year.
I will say that's a fair assessment. So, I mean, there was multiple times throughout the year last year that I was just wowed by some of the stuff he did. And this year I've only seen maybe once or twice.
Yep.
I'm just going to run through the receivers real quick. Amari Cooper, 3 receptions, 70. They all had almost the same game. 3 receptions, 74 yards. DPJ, 6 receptions, 71 yards. And Njoku, 7 receptions, 71 yards.
They all played pretty well outside of the push-off there at the end of the game that was potentially a touchdown.
Yeah. And like we said, I mean, I'm not saying that was a terrible call. I think it was a fine call because it was a push-off if you look at it. But at the same time...
The call from the ref.
Yeah.
Because the play call was ass.
Yeah, the call from the ref, I don't blame him for that. I would say probably that's a coin toss. I mean, 5 times you'll get it called, 5 times you won't. It's a coin toss. So.
If you go back to the replay and watch, as soon as the referee throws the flag, everybody just kind of stopped and they were like,
because they knew right away.
Usually the receiver would run into the end zone and celebrate, at least spike the ball, and then turn around and pull one of these like, me?
Nope, not at all.
Everybody
turned
knew.
around, was just like,
you got it.
Like, it could have went either way. You got me. Oops.
Yeah.
So, they all played fine. The offensive line, though, like I said, 5 sacks given up, 113 yards rushing, which is fine, but it's well below our season average. And it's a couple weeks in a row now that they've looked mediocre at best. Yeah,
and Wyatt Taylor was out this week.
True.
So
I mean, we didn't have our full complement of offensive linemen.
Froholt, my favorite fullback, was playing in place of him. But
that wasn't the problem. Jedrick Wills was on the other side.
Yeah, Jed Wills had a bad game.
Second bad game in a row, bad game.
Sorry, real quick, just to go back to Njoku, he also got banged up, and I know he's on the injury report, and we'll get to that later, but I do think that was a factor at the end of the game, not having him on the field, in terms of being able to run the offense that we wanted to.
Yeah, definitely. That takes us to the defense here. Myles Garrett got another sack. But like and Taven Bryan got his first sack as a Brown, so that was a good thing too. And I think actually I didn't put it on here, but
MJ Emerson.
Yeah, first sack as a Brown, right?
Yep.
First sack of his career, if I'm not mistaken. Well, he's a rookie, right?
Right. So I mean, defensive backs don't get a lot of sacks, but it was a cool moment.
Yeah. So those were all good things. Jadeveon Clowney, though, you could tell that the injury slowing him down a bit. He was kind of a non-factor. His only stat on the day was one QB hit.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate him trying to tough it out because we need him.
Yeah,
but I do think
some pressure off
he's absolutely hampered right now.
Yep, and then Deion Jones, his first game as a Brown, he was just okay. He did miss a few tackles. I would give him a pass early on because he is coming off of IR. He's probably got some rust to shake off.
There was definitely some rust there. I mean, I was just watching him chasing guys. He wasn't coming in at the point of attack and making a tackle.
Like I said, I mean, it's
he was trying to find his way back after a blown contain and chasing guys to the sideline.
One rule.
That's not good.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think he played well by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't want to dog on him yet just because it's
early. Look, he might be good, he might not be. He could be Greg Little or Quincy Morgan. I don't know.
Here we go.
Because he's new. Look,
I'm new.
It wasn't like we signed Khalil Mack.
True.
It's Deion Jones.
Yeah, you're not getting top level. You were just getting like solid starter.
I don't even know if he's solid starter. He's just.
But I'm saying that's what you were hoping for, and we don't know yet.
He's probably going to be an adequate linebacker in the NFL, and if he accomplishes that, then fine.
Yeah. Secondary, they played fine in coverage, but I think that they've officially gotten sick of being the run help because when the front seven doesn't do their jobs because multiple times throughout this game where it looked like they completely avoided contact when the running backs got through, including an absolutely egregious one by John Johnson on the goal line. Just literally had him squared up, ready to go, and just stood there and let him run by.
Yeah.
And especially coming from John Johnson.
Yeah, JJ3 this week.
You just called out your teammates and said, everybody needs to get on the same page. We need to be working towards the same goals. And that's what you come out and do. I would have instantly benched his ass. I would have been like, you're done for the day.
I think I heard that he left the locker room quite early yesterday.
Was that after the dust-up, after the big arguments, and then he was out?
Oh, yeah. They were all probably yelling at him.
Yeah. I heard there was a lot of screaming and yelling. This is what the Cleveland reporters are all saying, and one of the things that came out today was the only thing that was audible that you could actually discern was being said in the locker room was, where's the leadership on this team?
Yes. Well,
multiple times.
Talk more about that in a sec.
Yeah, so, but like I said, with John Johnson calling his team out and then going ahead and just blatantly giving up on a play, I would have benched his ass immediately.
Yeah, big picture, the receivers didn't do a whole lot of damage, and they played okay against Lamar. But
one question I do have: what the hell is Delpit doing out there?
He's looking for Denzel.
Yeah, I mean, basically since Denzel Ward went out, he's just completely lost out there. He's just the last 2 weeks. I watched the game and I literally don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, he's hot and cold, man. Because when he's on, he has the tools, right? He's athletic, he's fast, he's strong.
He's shown flashes even this year.
But man, sometimes he just gets lost in the shuffle.
So bad. It just looks like he's playing a different game than everybody else right now. And then we'll get into special teams here. Cade York, 2 for 3 on his field goals. The last one was blocked, not his fault. If you ask him, he said that was definitely going in.
Yeah, he said it was going to go in. And I believe him, too.
Kickers, I mean, I will say this. Kickers do tend to, he knows when it comes off his foot if that is going to be good or not. And
I mean, here's the thing. Even if he had missed it and just shanked it, you're putting a rookie kicker in a game-winning scenario or game-tying scenario from 61 or 62 yards.
You don't play the how far can Cade York kick game. But he was 2 for 2 on his extra points, so I would say he's basically perfect. We let the other team block it, so that's on the line and everybody else. DPJ, he was returning punts this week. He looked fine. Dearness Johnson, well, I guess he looked all right, I should say. Dearness Johnson handling kickoff duties with Chester Rogers not elevated. We kind of called that one last week. We said Chester Rogers' time is limited here because he muffed a punt. So
yeah, see you later, Chester.
Overall, Browns 330. You got anything else?
Just general game notes.
Those are coming up, man.
Okay, fine.
Overall, the Browns total yards 336. The Ravens had 254. So, I mean, it's big time in our favor. Time of possession, though, the Browns were 25-56. The Ravens were 34-04. So they definitely beat us up in the time of possession category here. But let's just have a discussion real quick. What's going on?
Yeah, here's the thing. I think I have a 5-point plan to fix the Browns.
Yes, let's hear it. Kenny Thunder's 5-point plan to fix the Browns.
So number one is trade Kareem. Kareem's got to go. He's outlived his usefulness. We talked a little bit about it already. We're going to need the picks. We don't have any. Get anyone. Kevin has to give up play calling duties. Now he can work with.
That's point two.
That's point two. The trade Reem is point one. Point two, Kevin has to give up play calling duties. He can work with the offensive coordinator, Van Pelt, or whoever on the script each week, because that comes out fine. But you can't script a whole game. And his attention needs to be focused elsewhere. And this can't be a Jimmy Haslam mandate. This has to be Kevin. Kevin needs to come out and voluntarily say, I need to be present with the rest of the team. I'm giving up play calling during the game, because I need to be there for special teams. I need to be there for defense.
Wait. You're telling me your number 2 point is Kevin Stefanski? Stefanik, as I'm going to start calling him. Stefanik needs to be a head coach?
He needs to be the head coach.
Oh, wow.
He needs to step up because that bleeds into number 3, which is just this team is devoid of leadership, which, again, we've talked a little bit about. Obviously, the noise in the locker room at the end of the game, everyone's yelling at each other, but there's no leaders on this team. And you can say what you want about Baker Mayfield as a player, but they are missing what he brought to the table as somebody that could at least hold people accountable.
I will say this.
Or tried to hold people accountable.
I don't consider myself a Baker hater. I was critical of Baker because I wanted him to be better at times, but I will give him that, is when the team started crumbling, Baker held them together.
It's the one thing that they're absolutely missing right now. There's zero leadership on this team, and I don't know. Look, I know you got a bunch of good talented guys. You got guys like Miles and Nick Chubb. Love those guys and love their attitude, but you can't always lead by example. And I don't know if it's going to be Nick Chubb that stands up and starts calling people out and holding them accountable, but somebody has to, and they need to do it. They need to find some leadership fast.
Yeah, I mean, if I will say this, if Nick Chubb, I know he's always been lead by example. He doesn't say much, and it's part of what we love about Nick Chubb. But if I was on that team and he said something to me, you say jump, I say how high.
Yeah, exactly. Number 4, Joe Woods. He gets a reprieve for right now, a reprieve, a stay of execution. But Stefansky,
he's officially Stefanik. Don't say Stefanski anymore.
Should be in him, on him, always. That dude needs to fear for his job and find ways to make this D better. This D was touted as potentially a top 5 defense this year. Hell, the whole roster, there were legitimate discussions going on NFL Network and all the big networks about this being potentially the best roster, outside of Deshaun not being, but roster talent in the whole NFL.
Guess who's not having those discussions anymore?
No, which is why Stefanik needs to be giving up play calling and getting into Joe Woods.
I love it, Stefanik.
Number 5, Mike Prefer's got to go. He's got to go, and he's got to go now.
He's trash.
The week after week, we've seen mistakes and poor decisions, poor play out of that special teams unit. And maybe it's Stefanski taking a greater role in the interim because he's going to give up play calling voluntarily because he wants to be a head coach. But it can't go on like this anymore, and he's got to go. That has to be the first, because there are some fundamental problems in that locker room, and all of a sudden everything's on the table, right? It was easy to blame Baker Mayfield for all these problems, and while he's gone, you shipped him out, and all the same stuff is still happening in this locker room.
It's just happening worse.
You have players-only meetings in week 2. We have people yelling at each other in the locker room after the game before media interviews. We have you're 2-5, and all of a sudden you're going, do we even have the right players here?
Yep. My question is just, I know it's just kind of always the joke around Cleveland and the NFL for that. Are we just doomed? Are we doomed? It's like as soon as we can have all the talent we want on this roster. There's been a few times in my lifetime where we have had those same discussions that you're talking about, analysts have talked about, are the Browns the most talented team on paper in the NFL? Well, guess what? That talent doesn't mean anything as soon as you put on the Browns colors, because it always happens like this. And as far as Stefanik, like we said, man, F that guy. F Stefanik. I'm officially, I've been trying to put it off all season, but I'm officially on the fire Stefanik bandwagon.
I mean, it can't get any worse.
He just doesn't understand basic football. Like, he tries to outsmart everybody, and at some point you've got to understand that, yeah, analytics play a part. They do. But I mean, we talked about it earlier today, off air. We have some of the best grades as far as analytics go. The Browns do. Their offense is one of the best offenses in the league.
Super efficient.
I think they're rated as the third most efficient offense in the league. What were some of the other stats that you were throwing about other teams?
Well, I just know that like DVOA is a big one that comes up, and I think the Giants are dead last in DVOA, like the defensive metric for analytics. Like, but they're 6-1, so at some point you have to just coach football.
Yeah, and you've got to understand, that's where we've talked about in the past, the eye test. The eye test tells you that Nick Chubb is the best player on the team, and it doesn't matter the down or distance. You should run that guy at least 20 times a game.
It's not hard to see that on 3rd and 2, you should give the ball to the best player. At least have him on the field. Even if you're going to throw the ball all the way, put him on the field. Make the defense respect that he's out there.
Right.
Maybe, just maybe, that defensive back's eyes are in the backfield for an extra quarter of a second, and Amari Cooper doesn't feel the need to push off.
Right. And Kevin Stefanik keeps trying to outsmart everybody.
We don't respect him. We can't even. He doesn't even have his own name anymore.
Yeah. Look, Stefanik, if you're not outsmarting me with your play calls, that's a problem. You probably shouldn't be a coach in the NFL if you can't outsmart me.
Well, that's the whole thing, is you don't have to outsmart anyone. Give the ball to Nick Chubb. Even when they know it's coming, you can't stop it.
No. Look, this is just it's completely devolved at this point into a dumpster fire. Like, people are just laughing at the Browns right now.
Oh, yeah, the season...
There's other bad teams around the NFL. But the other bad teams around the NFL...
are starting XFLers?
Well, yeah, or they just don't have the problems that we have. We talk about the Steelers, for example. They have the same record as us, and some of the fans are getting restless and calling for Mike Tomlin's job. But overall, guess what? They don't have the locker room problems that we have.
It just goes to show you how dumb everyone in Pittsburgh is to have that much success over that long a time. And the year that your Hall of Fame quarterback retires and you're trying to rebuild and retool, that you're like, this is the worst. Where do you get off? You got 20 years of good football.
Yeah. F Pittsburgh.
F them all.
But yeah, we both picked this game right because, of course, the Browns were going to find a way to lose. They always do. That's what they do. So that's where we're at.
We're the worst. I mean, seriously, you have the same record as the Carolina Panthers. They fired their coach. They're starting an XFLer. They want to trade their best players. They did trade their best player.
We'll get there. Don't jump the gun on all that.
You're 2-5.
Other Browns notes here from this week. We'll start with some injuries. David Njoku has a high ankle sprain. He's week to week. He's probably going to miss 2 to 5 weeks is what they're saying. So that's not good.
No.
Big weapon. Harrison Bryant's really going to have to step up here.
I do know that they had a lot of tight ends during camp that...
Is Farrell Brown still playing?
Well, Farrell Brown was there, and I think he had a catch on Sunday. But Farrell Brown's not a receiving tight end. He doesn't quite fill the void of
I'm talking about, like, committee-wise. You can use him.
Well, yeah, you can use him as a run blocker, but he's a classic run blocker. But they have a couple intriguing prospects in... was it Miller Forrestall, and there was a basketball guy whose name I couldn't pronounce that's still hanging around the practice squad. So you might have some young guys that'll get some opportunities over the next few weeks, but losing Njoku certainly hurts.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. Amari Cooper and DPJ are going to have to step up big these next few weeks.
Or maybe they could try throwing the ball to David Bell.
Yeah, I would love that. I've been asking them for the entire
He had one catch, but it was the most athletic catch of the day.
Every time you throw it his way, he's the Venus flytrap.
Because he was running to the sideline and Jacoby threw it inside, and he just had to like full on contort his body to go back to the ball.
Other than that one time, he does not drop the ball.
It was only like a 6-yard play, but I was like, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, when almost every time he catches the ball, that's what you're saying. It's time to get him more involved. And the other thing is maybe we'll just run Nick Chubb more.
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
But we won't. Stefanik has no idea. Jacob Phillips potentially done for the season with a pec injury.
Never good to lose the guy with the dot.
Yeah, you texted me earlier. When you lose your dot, that's a bad deal. And this is our second dot.
That's the second dot.
That's not good.
You can't lose a dot. So we go back to the 5-point plan. Trade Big Reem and bring in a new dot.
You could do that. Yeah, you could.
Yeah, if you can't get a good draft pick, bring in a new dot.
Knowing Stefanik, he's probably going to trade Kareem Hunt for another running back. We need another one.
Yeah. Does everybody know what we mean when...
Did you just say words?
What we mean when we say that we lost the dot?
I don't know.
Should we clarify?
The defensive captain that's calling the plays, that's hearing everything from the box.
He's got the radio in his helmet with the green dot.
Green dot, in case anyone...
Can't lose your dot. It's kind of like tearing a CL. It's never good.
We're talking about CLs in this episode later.
Is it Brees's CL?
Yeah.
Man.
The Browns' locker room is pretty much in shambles right now.
Shambles!
Reporters are saying, like we talked about, loud arguments. They're all talking about the leadership. And I said it earlier. The staple of every Stefanik team is there's no discipline. So here we are.
Yeah, I just think that the shine is coming off of the Stefanik turd. His one good...
You can't put, what is it? You can't put lipstick on a pig?
Yeah. There's 1,000 cliches that could describe a poorly led football team by Kevin Stefanik. But
I've at the end of the start saying you really Stefanik that thing up.
At the end of the day, what has Stefanski really done here?
Nothing.
You have a really good roster, and your one claim to fame, the one year they made the playoffs, was the COVID year. So everybody was kind of playing at a disadvantage.
Yeah, I agree. Whatever. Stefanik sucks.
There wasn't even fans in the stands.
Bottlegate guy was found. That was cool.
He's my
Saw
hero.
an article. His name's Paul. He's 63. He lives in Florida. They recreated the photo. It was really cool. Might try and get that guy on the pod.
Yeah, I saw he's serving a lifetime ban from Brown Stadium.
But he looks nothing like he used to, so I'm sure he could still get in.
Because he was prosecuted.
Yeah, him along with 18 other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, like I said, I think he could actually get in because he looks nothing like he used to. So.
Yeah.
But that dude's a legend.
That guy's a hero.
Trade deadline.
I thought there was maybe going to be a Bottlegate again after the false start, the phantom false start.
They don't give them bottles anymore, so there's nothing to throw.
They were just going to rush the field.
Yeah. The trade deadline is approaching, and the Browns are listening to offers for Greedy Williams and Kareem Hunt. So we're either going to be really... Browns fans are either going to be really happy at the trade deadline or they're going to be really, really sad.
And they should, because we don't have any draft picks, and Houston has our draft picks, and they're going to get a top 10 pick when we finish 4-13. So we should do what we can to acquire assets. I don't know what the market is for Greedy Williams. I was kind of surprised to see his name pop up on the trade block today.
There can't be one, right? He's just been injured, and when he has played, he's just played below average.
And he was acclaimed to an extent coming out of college, but he wasn't a top prospect.
No. But they did say that we got a steal because of the injury. They were like, "Oh, he's coming off an injury. He would have been a first rounder if he didn't." Yeah,
but all he's done in the NFL has been injured. So, and when he has played, he's been mediocre.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
So I don't know what you get for Greedy Williams. Maybe a backup linebacker or a case of Deja Blue. But Kareem needs to go, and it's nothing against Kareem. But
6-pack of Bud Lights, Newports, I don't know.
But he's got to go.
Yeah.
Other notes, real quick, just from the game. What National Tight Ends Day? Why?
Why is that a thing?
Why it felt so forced, like it was just this holiday they made up.
Everybody appreciate the tight ends,
and they all had the shirts made. And I was like, at first I was watching the CBS broadcast, and they had the shirts, and I was like, this is really goofy. But then I turned on the Fox broadcast, and they had the same shirts. I was like, this is who?
Freaking George Kittle did this stupid promo for it, like it was a big deal.
When did we invent National?
Well, that was cool because he used all wrestling references throughout the entire thing as his promo.
True.
That was cool. But you did it for National Tight Ends Day that nobody even knows about. So many people don't know about it that you literally had to create a promo to put on national TV to let everybody know that it was a thing.
I'm just so sick of made-up holidays.
So many of them. I run our social media, And every day it tells me on the side, make a post for National Cat Day. Make a post for this. I'm like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah, we're just making things up to fill egos at this point. Like, oh, tight ends don't get enough appreciation. Let's make them t-shirts.
National Ronnie Jams Day.
Yeah, where's Ronnie Jams Day? Also, orange pants are fire. Really should just be the default.
Oh, hell yeah.
For the Browns. And
all of the pants are inferior.
Going into this game, I thought this was a bad omen. As I was watching the scrolls go through on the fantasy projections for the day, and your number one fantasy projected quarterback was Lamar Jackson. Your number one projected tight end was Mark Andrews. Your number one kicker was Justin Tucker.
Never good. Never good.
I was like, that spells trouble. And then my final note is just that going into this game, Harbaugh was 23-5 against the Browns over 15 seasons.
24-5.
24-5.
That's a pretty good record.
And he has a chance for 25 this year.
Basically, everybody in the AFC North, if you just look at their careers against the Browns, they look like Hall of Famers.
Well, especially since '99.
Yeah.
We probably just shouldn't have come back. You're right. The colors are cursed. We should have changed the name. We should have been the Bulldogs or the Anybodies and worn green and fuchsia.
Yeah, something. We should have done something. But let's end this week on a high note with the Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week. I'm a dog now, though. Who let the dogs out? Dog mentality. Come on now. I'm coming in to kill right away. This is getting pretty redundant, man.
Are we ending the week on a high note with a dog of the week when we lose?
No, honestly, we actually talked about not just giving it to the Bajor quiz this week because we just were so...
He averaged over 57 yards a boot.
That's pretty impressive. We were just so turned down by the Browns.
It just feels bad.
Yeah, but we did end up going with Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb.
That's why I said this is getting redundant. He gets it pretty much every week. I think since we started doing it, he's got it 4 out of 5 weeks or something stupid.
Njoku and maybe Amari, or did
Njoku
DPJ get it once?
Miles Garrett got it once.
Yeah.
So, but either way, it's Nick Chubb, 16 carries, 91 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 receptions, 16 yards. He is currently first in the league in rushing. And just imagine if he was allowed to actually run the ball.
Oh my gosh!
If he got 20 plus carries a week.
If he
got
the carries that
Saquon gets?
That he deserved. Yeah, that Saquon gets. He'd be out in front by 150 yards or so.
Speaking of Saquon, so let's think about this. Saquon is currently 40 yards behind Nick Chubb for second place, right? On the rushing
24.
list. He's only 24. It went down 20. Okay, so he's 24 yards behind him. Saquon has 17 more carries right now. That's an entire game for Nick Chubb.
Yeah, what's Nick Chubb averaging, like 5'6" a carry?
5'6" or 5'7", I think. So, that's an entire game for Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
This week he did pass Greg Pruitt on the Browns rushing list. He is now 4th all time.
Pruitt, you can do it.
And he has an outside chance of... I say outside because we're not going to give him the carries, but he has an outside chance of catching, going up to number 3 all time. He's about 1,000 yards behind that. Should be doable in the amount of games we have left, but we're not going to give him the carries. So.
Nick Chubb is the best football player I've seen in my lifetime, and I know there's the GOAT conversation is different, and Tom Brady is out there, but just from a pure athlete in his position, in his role, I've never seen anyone do it better.
No, I told you, I think it was either last week or the week before. I said I feel like I think I'm experiencing what everybody experienced watching Jim Brown. They're just like, how does he do what he does?
And
it's consistently. It's like we said, that we have 8 people in the box against us, more than anybody in the NFL, and he still does it.
Yeah, they can't stop him. And it's just the play calling and the workload. Because if this dude was getting 25 and 30 carries a game, if he was getting AP carries or Barry Sanders carries, this guy would run for
every rushing record,
1,800 yards a season.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
20 plus touchdowns.
Absolutely. So, like we said, Nick Chubb, he does it again. The Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week.
I almost hope that Stefanski gets himself fired.
His name's Stefanik.
Stefanik gets himself fired, and that we start to lose people due to cap casualties. And Nick Chubb is just the only one left. So we can finally run the offense that he deserves.
We'd probably win more.
We would. We wouldn't be 2-5.
So it was kind of a high note, and then we got upset about
your high.
I saw that going differently in my mind.
You think that was the high note?
Anyways, let's get into the division roundup for this week. All right, so Cincinnati beats Atlanta easily this week, 35-17.
Yeah, this game was a rout.
Yeah. Joey B finally looked like Joey B.
Was it 17? I thought they scored. I thought Atlanta scored again.
No.
Is it 35-17?
Yeah, it was bad. It was like bad NFL score. They just humped them.
That's not good. Yeah, it was 35-17.
Yeah, Joey B finally, he's kind of, it's several weeks in a row now. He's back to looking like Joey B does. Jamar Chase, though, he did have an injury scare. But he did return later in the game. He didn't look like himself after that, but he did return, so that's a good sign for him going forward.
Here's the thing. The Bengals did what the Browns should have done to the Falcons when we played them.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just beat a team that you were better than. Marcus Mariota is your starting quarterback. You're not good. Excuse me, I burped and hiccuped all at the same time. That was weird.
You got so fired up with the Bengals doing what the Browns are supposed to.
So much gas. Marcus Mariota was, 8 of 13 for 124 and a touchdown.
It's pretty much the same numbers he put up against us.
Is he a high school quarterback? Like, what is this? What is happening here?
He's trash.
And with Cordero Patterson's still out. The no-name Tyler Algier is in there, rushed for 50 yards. Like, if you just go through
the only team he can rush against is the Browns.
Their statistics, like, they're such trash. Kyle Pitts had 3 catches for 9 yards in this game.
Yeah.
But the Bengals did what they needed to do, which is just go in and take care of business.
Yeah, I think one thing that they are is starting to come along for the Bengals. I think we are finally discovering who the Bengals are. And it's a pass-heavy offense because Joe Mixon's trash. I don't care what anybody says. I think he's trash.
Oh, I agree.
He's every year everybody talks about how. Sorry, I'm getting on a Joe Mixon rant here, but everybody talks about how good he's going to be, and every year he disappoints.
He puts up good fantasy numbers, I guess. Not this year, but in the past. But no, the Bengals absolutely are.
Pass-heavy offense, and their defense is starting to play good enough to hold teams to where they can outscore their opponent.
They are gaining momentum, and
they have the easiest part of their schedule
starting to look, and they're beating teams that they should beat now, right?
Again, I said it last week. I know the 4 teams. It was Falcons, Steelers, not in any particular order. Falcons, Steelers, Browns, Panthers. Those were their next 4 games, starting with Atlanta, and then next to the Browns, obviously. So
yeah,
we both picked that game right.
I will say too, just like watching that game back, Atlanta's so bad. The first touchdown to was it Boyd or I think it was Boyd. The defensive back just ate shit. Just on the 50-yard, like he was.
It literally looked like me covering him.
He just fell flat on his face. It wasn't even a play to be made. He just tossed the ball up and was it touchdown.
Was it one of those moments he was beat so bad he's like, I'll just fall down and blame it on that?
I don't know. Like he hit the ground with velocity.
Oh,
like he was. It was like he
had to sell it.
It was like he was running into the ground. I was like, well,
that's so bad.
Of course that's a 60-yard touchdown because the defensive back ate shit. And then the next long...
You know who wouldn't have made that throw? Marcus Mariota.
No, he could not. Then he did throw a long bomb in that game, though. That was all of his passing yards came on one play. To some guy that made his first NFL catch. It was like a 55-yard touchdown. It was weird.
Atlanta just so good.
The other Jamar Chase touchdown, too... literally, the defensive back got juked out of his shoes. Did a full 360 pirouette on the sideline, trying to figure out where Jamar Chase was. I was like, he's running. He's at the sideline. He can't go anywhere else. He's got to cut back inside.
Yeah, he's pretty good though. Jamar Chase is pretty good.
But yeah, I mean, they beat a team they were better than. Good job.
Like I said, we both picked that one right. That was pretty easy. Steelers lost to Miami for some unknown reason. Kenny Thunder here thought it was a good idea to pick the trash Steelers over Miami. And so I'll take the easy win. I got that one right. Kenny got it wrong.
Here's the thing. Did you watch that whole game last night?
No, I didn't have to. Steelers are trash.
The Steelers are trash. I agree with you. But the Steelers had 2 chances to win that game at the end of the game.
But they didn't because they're trash.
They punted like 8 times.
Because they're trash.
But even as trashy as they were, It came down to the last possession. Like if they would have scored, they would have won. They were driving with the ball with 3 minutes left, and they were moving the ball, and Miami had no answers. And then Kenny Pickett threw a picket in the end zone.
So in the end, they're trash and they lost.
In the end, it was a toss-up game. I still feel like it was a toss-up game, and I think that had that throw not been picked.
Look, you give me shit all the time for picking the Browns, who are trash, every week. Yet,
look, I'm just saying.
You picked the Steelers.
I'm just saying that game was a lot closer than we thought it was.
Here's the deal. I picked it right. You picked it wrong. I'll take it. Right. Let's go ahead and take a trip around the NFL. So, okay, the Broncos lose again. Now, Brett Rapine, he goes 24 of 46 for 225 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. Doesn't really seem important, right?
This is a good stat line.
I throw that all out there just to tell you that he played just as well as Russell Wilson for $244 million less.
Fair. Feels bad.
And another fun fact about the Broncos here, I go through these things just to make me feel better about how bad the Browns are. Nick Chubb has the same amount of touchdowns on the season as the entire Broncos team.
Imagine how many touchdowns he would have if we let him run the ball.
Yeah, a lot more. Some refs got in trouble this week, or in the process of getting in trouble. They're being investigated because after the Tampa Bay game, they asked Mike Evans for his autograph. It's just in the tunnel. It's on video. They're just like, hey man, I want an autograph. And in the rule book it states that refs shall not, and I quote, shall not ask players, coaches, or any other team personnel for autographs or memorabilia.
That's a bad look.
Oh yeah, it would be an even bigger deal if the Bucs won the game.
Oh no, but they're trash.
Yeah, they're bad. Yeah, we'll get back to them in a second. The Eagles were on bye, and as such, they remain undefeated. They couldn't lose.
Fair.
CMC traded to the 49ers this week. That was the big deal of the week. Everybody was talking about it. 49ers fans are pumped. Analysts are pumped. Started talking up the 49ers, saying how they're going to have a great, second half of the season. Well, they promptly lose to the Chiefs, 44-23.
To be fair, the Chiefs are kind of a buzzsaw.
44-23.
Here's my question. What's the over-under on how many plays CMC gets before he gets injured again as a 49er?
5.
He made it past 5, so you would lose that bet.
Well, that was the over-under. So CMC's old team, though, Christian McCaffrey, left the Panthers. He didn't leave. He was traded, but he's not on the Panthers anymore. They promptly turned around and beat the Buccaneers. All it took for the Panthers to win another game was having a complete fire sale, getting rid of your coach, your defensive coordinator, your quarterback, your running back, and playing an XFLer in all of your backups. That's the key.
What's going on in Tampa Bay? I mean, is Tom Brady's...
I said it last week.
...mental breakdown just disheveled that whole team and that whole organization?
I said it last week. He's actually not putting up terrible numbers, but if you just watch him play, he is a shell of himself compared to what he used to be.
He didn't have very good numbers for most of that game.
No, but I mean on the season he has decent numbers. But the eye test, that's why we've been talking about it.
Did you see the AB tweets after the game?
No, were they good?
AB tweeted, Tampon Bay, Tom Booty, you dig.
You dig? I mean, I dig. You know what I'm saying? Nobody knows what that means.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah, and then, so after that game, though, the Panthers coach was asked about P.J. Walker and if he's going to keep playing or not, even though Baker and Sam Darnold have a chance of returning this coming week. He basically said, I mean, we beat the Buccaneers. It's going to be hard to take P.J. Walker off the field.
Which is kind of just a weird thing to say.
He's an interim head coach. He's playing with house money right now.
I guess so, but do you want to spend your house money on that? Like, this guy was in the XFL. Like, are you staking your claim?
He wasn't just in the XFL. He led the entire XFL in every quarterback statistical category.
Are you staking your claim on this guy? Like,
I know I wouldn't.
And didn't he play the week before and not play well?
Oh, he played bad.
Like really bad.
Yeah, like worse than Baker played. And Baker was on in a historically bad clip.
To have one good game and get the vote of confidence from the interim head coach is just everything about it feels odd. But hey, it's the Panthers, and
PJ Walker beat the GOAT. Well, I mean, what are you going to do?
I guess he's the new GOAT.
Yeah, transitive property. Injuries are starting to pile up around the league. DK Metcalf was carted off with a knee injury. It does look like he's going to be okay. They announced today that he will not need any surgery on his knee. But, wow. I said maybe, in my notes here, just so everybody knows, I said maybe hitching a ride when he has to dump is bad luck. It actually corrected that to maybe bitching a ride.
I don't think we can say that on the YouTubes.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to bleep it out. I said it. But anyways, yeah, hitching a ride when you have to dump to the locker room on a medical cart is probably bad luck. It paints bad omens for you.
You know why he got carted off with a knee injury?
Why?
Because he spends too much time on his arms.
Dude's got massive arms. I would be afraid of him if he approached me. The Giants...
Because he has big arms.
Because he has big arms, let's clarify.
Make sure everybody knows.
Yeah. The Giants lost 2 starting offensive linemen to knee injuries, so maybe they'll start coming back down to earth.
The Giants are another weird... I mean, I can actually see the Eagles being good before I see the Giants.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Giants are the surprise team of the NFL this year.
Yep. The Cowboys lost a starting cornerback, Jordan Lewis, for the season with the Liz Frank injury.
Liz Frank's not one you want.
The Jets lose Breece Hall for the season with potentially torn CL.
You can't go tearing CLs.
An ACL, to be exact.
Anytime you tear CL, it's bad news.
Oh, yeah.
Bad news bears.
Somebody coming off of injury. Mac Jones is back, and he's playing right now as we speak.
The Patriots just had somebody carted off with an injury. So
was it Mac Jones?
Nope.
Somebody else.
Offensive lineman.
All right. And then some fun facts here. Speaking of quarterbacks, the highest quarterback win percentage, including playoffs, since 2019 is Patrick Mahomes at 79%. In second place, we've got Aaron Rodgers at 73%. In third place, we have Patrick Mahomes in games he's trailed by 10-plus points at 70.6%. And in fourth place, we have Tom Brady at 69.8%.
What a weird... quarterback year this is becoming. I mean, not to blow past your point here because that's fun, but I was just looking through statistics today to kind of compare like where Joey B's at for the upcoming game, and you start running down the list of guys that are established household names, the guys that have run this league for the last 10 years. Yeah. Brady, Rodgers, Russ.
Bad years for those guys.
Like, what is this NFL? Like, who are the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now?
We'll get to that, to Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers in just a second. You actually touched on Joe Burrow.
I touched on Joe Burrow.
Nice, good job, buddy. I saw a pretty awesome stat for him today. He's the only quarterback in NFL history that has multiple 500-plus yard games with 4 touchdowns.
Yep.
That's pretty impressive. So
yeah,
I mean that's pretty good company to be.
And he's what, 25?
No company. Yeah, he's young. I mentioned Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, though. They are 0-4 against scrub quarterbacks the last 2 weeks. In case you're wondering who those quarterbacks are, Taylor Heineke, P.J. Walker, Kenny Pickett, and Zach Wilson. They're 0-4 against them in the last 2 weeks.
It just doesn't make sense, right?
Bro, Tom Brady has probably broken so many tablets. So many tablets. Oh man, he just should have stayed retired. I just love that this year just continues to be more and more of a train wreck every week.
It's such a train wreck this whole season.
Oh, it's just unraveling. Like if you write a story about Tom Brady, you just end it at the end of last season, and it's a great story. And then it's kind of like the post-credit scenes for like a Marvel movie. Like then he comes in and comes back and wrecks everything, and now we gotta have a whole new story to wrap up that story.
What's unraveling faster, Tom Brady's marriage or the Browns season?
The Browns season. But Tom Brady's marriage is pretty close second.
Should have stayed retired and stayed married.
Yep. And then one more thing on Rodgers and Brady. They're both now under 500. So that's for Brady. This is the first time since 2002 he's been under 500 through 7 games. For Rodgers, it's his first time having a losing record through 7 games in his entire career.
Aaron Rodgers looks like a broken man. I know Tom Brady emotionally is a broken man. Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if you caught the very last play.
He did too much Hayalusa or whatever the hell he called in the mountains, and now he's just
missing his girl Shailene Woodley.
Yeah, bad job out of him.
I don't know if you saw the final play of the Packers game.
You love Shailene Woodley.
I do love Shailene Woodley.
Yeah, you would not have let her go.
No. I was actually. It's funny you say that. I was actually just thinking, like, if I was Aaron Rodgers,
you were just thinking, man, I really got to go back and watch the Divergent series again.
After every game that I won and I was good, I'd have to be like, pop her like a hey baby, what's going on? Just see my game.
It's just pathetic how much you are in love with Shailene Woodley.
Anyway, Aaron Rodgers. If you saw the final play of the Packers game, they ran the old. Hook and ladder and ladder and ladder and ladder and ladder.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers ended up with the ball at the end as like the last ladderman, and threw, I think, what was a forward pass into just the end of the game.
He was done with that.
And he got tackled as he was doing it and just smashed and just laid face first on the ground for like so long afterwards. His teammates were coming to pick him up and he was just like, no. Just leave,
I saw
just leave me.
There was a lot of tweets going out about that, how he was enjoying some popcorn or something else underneath there. He's just laying there getting some snacks. Like
he was done.
Yeah, it was bad. There's so many stats right now that show how bad this year has been for both Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. I don't even have time to get into them, but here's the deal: both their teams are still better than the Browns.
Oh yeah, we're not making the playoffs.
No, absolutely
it's not even in discussion anymore.
Do you have anything else from around the league?
No. Let's wrap it with that.
All right. Well, that's it for Week 7 coverage. Let's go ahead and take a revenue break, and we'll get into Week 8. Towpath Distillery. Towpath Distillery, the newest craft distillery in Northeast Ohio, located in Akron and family-owned. Towpath Distillery focuses on high-quality spirits, carefully made in small batches. Towpath's lineup includes an ultra-smooth, award-winning premium vodka, a small batch silver rum made from the highest grade molasses, an American craft gin made with 9 botanicals, and a blended straight bourbon made from corn and rye. Towpath Distillery. Visit towpath-distillery.com to find an agency near you where the spirits are available, and make sure to ask your local bartender and restaurateur. Towpath Distillery. Handcrafted, small batch, local, and family-owned.
I just have one question for you.
What's up, man?
Have you ever enjoyed a spirit from Towpath Distillery on the towpath?
No. I want to have some towpathception soon.
Just towpath to towpath.
Towpath on the towpath.
Yeah.
While creating a path with my toe.
They should call me for marketing.
They should. It's a pretty cool story. The towpath plays a big part in why they chose that name, obviously. So you should go on their website and check it out if you haven't yet. Towpath-distillery.com.
You think I haven't checked out our show
I'm talking
sponsors?
to our
Oh.
audience. I'm looking at you because you're in the studio, but I'm talking to our audience. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the Week 9 preview. Do we have any opposition research that you want to throw out there, or are we going to get right into the position?
I do have some opposition research.
Let's hear it. What do you got? Kenny Thunder with the opposition research.
I know you have some position matchups here, but there's really only one that matters, and it's Joey B. So
he got a category all by himself. I didn't put him in a matchup. He's just by himself.
He's by himself. He's the position matchup. He's the player to watch. He's everything in this game. How to beat Joey B, I think is where we're at. This team's got 3 potentially number 1 wide receivers. A bunch of guys that are comfortable sharing the ball and can go off at any time. And a good
tight end behind them.
And they trust.
That sounded dirty.
And they trust Joey B wholeheartedly to get them the ball. The last 2 weeks, 781 yards, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
That guy is pretty good.
I'm
glad I called that guy.
Man, I'm glad I called that guy.
At halftime, during the Falcons game, he threw for 344 yards with a perfect quarterback rating of 158.3. None of that ESPN garbage, the real quarterback rating.
Yeah.
Perfect quarterback rating. So you start looking at Joey B and you say, well, how do you beat Joey B? What did the teams that beat him do? On a horse with a lance?
How would you beat him? With a stick when he slept.
Week 1 Steelers game, trash game, right? Week 1 of the season, a lot of weird things happen in week 1. But what they did do is they turned him over, and it's not easy to do. He threw 4 picks in week 1, 1 pick since. How did they get him to turn the ball over? Pressure, 7 sacks in week 1. Week 2, Cowboys threw for 199 yards, 6 sacks, getting after him, making him uncomfortable. Week 5, Ravens turned him over and played good coverage, 217 yards, and sacked him twice.
Bro, pause. We were talking about Mac Jones, and he just threw a pick 6, and they're down 10-0 to the friggin' Bears. Such garbage. Sorry. You're saying that we need to get pressure on him and force some turnovers. And so, like, the likes of Jadeveon Clowney, for example, who has been hampered, are going to need to step up.
Yeah, so in losses this year, and there's 3 losses, Joe Burrow has thrown for an average of 252 yards per game. That's that magic number. You keep him under 252, you got a shot.
We need to hold him to Jacoby Brissett numbers.
In wins, he's averaged 336 per game. So I think that's all about eliminating that big play. If you watch that Falcons game, it was just one big play after another.
You're telling me as soon as he hits 300 yards, we can just guarantee a loss.
Yeah, as soon as he passes 252, that threshold. That's the threshold I'm watching for on Sunday is 252. He hits that, we're done. Cooked like a goose.
We held Lamar Jackson to 120-something, and they won.
Look, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying that's what you have to do.
All right. That's what gives us a chance.
That's what gives
still
you.
Browns it up.
That's what
gives us a chance.
Look, I don't put anything past the Browns at this point. They invent new ways to lose every week.
Oh, yeah. It's painful.
And on third downs should go without saying, but you have to play up for every one of them because his quarterback rating on third down is 131.8.
That's high.
7 touchdowns and 0 picks.
Yeah.
This guy will kill you on third downs because there's ice in his veins, and you have to play up on third down. So if there's any chance of the Browns beating Joey B this week, it's holding him under 250, playing good coverage, eliminating those big play balls. You have to get to him and create pressure. big balls. You have to get to him and get pressure. And you have to get home, and you got to try to turn him over. I mean, that's the name of the. Nothing else really matters.
I'm going to run through my position matchups just because I wrote them down. But
go for it.
I would agree with you 100%. Nothing else really matters. So the position matchups I have is Browns secondary versus the Bengals passing attack. Obviously, that includes Joe Burrow, but they have, like you said, they have 3 receivers that could all be number ones depending on where they're at, and a pretty good tight end behind them, and in Hayden Hurst. So that's Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and Hayden Hurst. Make up a pretty darn good receiving core. The secondary is going to have to step up. They were able to limit Baltimore last week, but Baltimore doesn't have the receivers that the Bengals do.
No.
And they don't even have the quarterback when it comes to arm talent. I mean, not even close.
No.
I'm not saying Lamar Jackson's bad by any stretch of the means, but the imagination, but he's not Joe Burrow when it comes to arm talent. So it's a tall order. The Browns secondary is going to have to find a way, like you said, to slow all of that down.
It's going to be the toughest game they've played this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say this. I know you said the number one thing for this game is to figure out how to slow down Joe Burrow. But I actually have as the top matchup this week that's going to determine the game, 100%, is Kevin Stefanski versus himself. And what I mean by that is he going to give us anything in this game to instill confidence? Like you said, his seat is hot right now. And he just seems to be fighting to get out of his own way the entire season, and for his entire tenure, for that matter, with the Browns. So I would say that's the number one matchup, is Kevin Stefanski versus himself.
That's a fair matchup, and I give him a 5-point plan to win.
Will he follow it? Will you follow Kenny Thunder's 5-point plan to win?
If there was a 6-point plan, it would just say make sure Nick Chubb has 25 carries or more.
Yeah. Like you said, Joe Burrow playing very well lately. He could pop off for, I said 350 any day. Hell, he could pop off for 500 any day.
He's done it.
He's got a lot of weapons. We got to limit those big plays. The defense for the Bengals, not great, not bad. They're 15th overall as far as their ranking. They have 12 sacks on the year, so not a ton. They've got a few, but not a ton. And they've forced 8 turnovers, so not very many turnovers. So I think, I think we're...
And I think they've got some players on that defensive front. Trey Hendrickson stands out as somebody that is a disruptor. So the offensive line is going to have their hands full for sure because that defensive front is pretty good. But
yeah. So as a team, Cincinnati's got a 4-3 record. The Browns are going to need to play well on defense. Like we said, just once again, can't stress it enough. Limit the big plays. We need to get back to running the ball and controlling the clock. That's the only way we win this game, is if we win time of possession and give Nick Chubb over 20 carries. It's the only way we win this game.
25.
And the Bengals, I mean, let's be honest, they're much better on paper right now. So like you said, this is going to be a tough matchup.
Well, yeah, I think we've said all year long, like, we don't know what the Bengals are yet, but I can say that, like, right now they're starting to step into an identity. Yeah. And you talked about it earlier. It's big play passing. It's moving the ball around, spreading it around. You got a bunch of guys that are dynamic wide receivers, and they know how to use them.
Yep. So let's go ahead and...
quick game break. Is Bailey Zappi warming up?
Bailey Zappi is warming up. Nice. It's happening. It's happening!
It's Zappy hour!
Anyways, let's run through the injury report real quick here for the...
Look at the stadium. It is madness. They are turned towards Zappy.
It's Zappy hour! Woo!
Sorry, we didn't mean to interrupt your Browns podcast with play-by-play of the Patriots game.
Yeah, so the injury report for the Browns-Bengals game this week. Clowney played this past week, but he was kind of a non-factor, and he's really going to have to step up and do a better job.
Can we at least pause for the injury music right now?
Pause. Hang on. I got to stop it anyway, so just...
No.
I did.
Great.
I was trying to fit it all in. That's when you roll your eyes back in your head like that, it looks weird.
It looks better with the music.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyways, Jadeveon Clowney, he did play this last week, but like we talked about, he was kind of a non-factor, and he's going to have to step it up this week. And I know that's tough saying he's playing through an injury, whatever, but he's going to have to get some more pressure on the quarterback and help us with Joey B if we're going to have a chance.
We don't really have a chance.
Another injury, Denzel Ward, still in concussion protocol.
Still in there.
You said you were worried about it with how careful they're being, and Denzel Ward, I think, has a history of concussion. So
sure does.
He may be another week out. We don't know yet. And then Jacob Phillips, like we said, possible season-ending pectoral injury. Definitely out for this game. Maybe out for the entire season.
Yeah, I think he's out for his career, too. Not because of the injury, but
wow.
You go back to last year, he had the bicep injury, missed a lot of time. Coming into this year, coming off the injury, you can tell that he's an athlete. He's got some speed, but he has not looked great in his role. So I just think by the time he comes back from something like this, if he misses the rest of the season, you're just kind of like battered goods.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I hope he gets back to 100%, but...
Well, sure, we always hope they get better. I'm just saying, I don't think he's that good of a football player anyway. So, the dot, that was his last dot. And then Njoku out 2 to 5 weeks, so feels bad.
Yep, does feel bad. Who's your player to watch in this game?
Look, it's Joey B. I know that's a stretch, but this game hinges on how he plays. That's it.
If he plays well, they win. If he plays bad, we have a chance. It's not
he,
even if he plays bad, we win. Right. If he plays bad, we have a chance.
I kept thinking, like, is there any other player that makes any difference at all? And just the answer is no. It's
Nick Chubb on our side, but
okay, but Nick Chubb can have a great game
and
we'll still lose. Nick Chubb can run for 160 yards on Monday.
He does it almost every week,
and we'll still lose if Joe Burrow throws for 380 and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's fair. So my players to watch in this game, I picked 2 because the first one is Denzel Ward if he's back. because they have a plethora of receivers. They're going to put Denzel Ward probably on Jamar Chase.
You need somebody to cover him.
And that's a tall order, especially when you haven't played football in 3 weeks. So it's, if he's not able to stay with Jamar Chase on the day, it's going to be a long, long day for that entire secondary.
And you need a guy like Denzel on the field because you have to be able to man up with one of those guys at some point.
Absolutely. And so if he does not play, my player to watch is going to be Jedrick Wills, actually. He's been pretty bad the last couple games, like pretty darn bad. So we're going to have to see if he can step up, if he can right the ship, because, there wasn't, from what I can remember, I haven't heard a lot of complaints about Jedrick Wills up to this point. I mean, there was here and there, they would say, you missed some stuff, whatever, but overall, I think he's been adequate, right?
Yeah.
What are you laughing?
Sorry, Bailey Zappi came in. Immediately they scored a touchdown.
It's Zappy hour.
I'm so distracted by M&F.
Oh, man. But yeah, so I would say Jedrick Wills has to step up, and he has to get his shit together, because if he keeps having bad games like this, it's not long before they're going to be looking to replace him as well. So
yeah,
it's funny. It is trade deadline time.
It's funny you picked him, because when I was thinking about is there another player that I could pick, Jed Wills would have been my pick, because if we can't block, we're not going to be able to score enough points to keep this game close.
The only thing that we have going for us is Nick Chubb doesn't need blockers. He still runs for yards.
That's true.
Yeah. So,
go Nick.
So that leads us to King of the North.
There's another one. Yeah. Amelia Clark. Is that Targaryen?
You love her.
Yeah.
Anyways.
High on my list.
Yeah. Let's remind everybody of the tally.
Here we go.
Well, let's add last week's on first. So what'd you go last week?
I was 2-1.
That's pretty respectable. You know what I went?
3-0. I know you picked the Steelers to lose.
Yeah, because I'm not an idiot. So I am sitting at 15-9, and Kenny is now 12-12. He's still 500. He actually improved, but he's still losing. So that'll just lead us to our predictions for this week. AFC North, Baltimore at Tampa Bay.
Well, the good news is this week's picks are really easy, because
easy.
I think Tampa Bay is just in a really rough way right now.
Yeah.
Tom Brady
I think we might actually beat them.
Tom Brady his mind is elsewhere. He's not playing that well. The receivers, some of them are back. They're still banged up.
He currently right now is. I forgot to add this in earlier. He is first time in his career he's lost to two sub 500 teams in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. You lost to the Panthers and you lost to PJ Walker. What's that kids show? They lost to PJ Mask. Baltimore wins this game. I think they're just a better football team right now.
Fair. I mean, it's pretty easy. Like you said, Tampa Bay in shambles. Everybody seems to be banged up on that team too. So Baltimore wins easy. I think they win by probably 2 touchdowns.
I'm just going to take the next 2 games in a row.
Go ahead. Well, I'll just let everybody know what they are in case they were wondering. Pittsburgh at Philadelphia, and then obviously the Bengals at the Browns on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, so the next 2 games, there's going to be a boat race. And in one boat, it's going to be Philadelphia, and in the next boat, it's going to be Cincinnati, and it's going to be who can score more points.
I feel it, man.
Philadelphia is just going to shred Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett's throwing all the pickets, and the Browns just don't have the firepower to compete with Joey B right now. He's just playing too well. So
you were just hoping that you could hear Pickett to Pickens. Instead, you just hear Pickett.
Pickett. He just throw more pickets.
Picks it from Pickett.
I think these are both easily 2 touchdown games.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers are trash. So
yeah, they're absolute trash.
They're gonna lose. They're gonna lose by a lot. The Browns and Bengals, it's tough because it's not a tough game to pick. We're gonna lose. It's tough because right now this is. I know everybody said this about the Baltimore game, and it was very important. It was a must-win game, and we lost. But this game is legitimately, like, you lose, there's basically 0% chance you make the playoffs. Like 0%. At least right now, it's still, if you win this game, you're only a game behind the division leader. So
That's like saying, in theory, I could wake up on the moon.
well, yeah, but
Like,
I'm just
is there a chance that could happen? Yeah. If
I'm just
Elon
saying-
kidnaps me in the middle of the night and throws me on his rocket,
there.
and I ride with him and Jeff Bezos all the way to the moon, then I'll
Jeff
be on
Bezos'
the moon.
big penis rocket.
Why are there so many dongs in this
So
show?
many. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it hurts to say it because that legitimately basically puts us out of contention, and we're still in October, the last day of October, and we're out of contention for this season.
And we can't even talk about the draft because we don't have one.
No, yeah, that's even worse. Shut up. I hate you. So, yeah,
look,
I mean, the Browns lose, and
Yeah.
we're going to lose. I think we lose by 2 touchdowns.
This season is unraveling fast.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, do we switch to what you were talking about? Do we just keep playing Jacoby?
I think that's going to be the narrative for very, very quickly here.
Or
Because
are they going to say we have to see how well Deshaun Watson can play?
that's the only thing that I can even fathom as an explanation or rationale as to why they would play Deshaun is because they are so devoid of leadership. They have to give him an opportunity to lead and to be that guy. But I don't see any sense of playing a guy.
What does that actually do for you, though? Because at this point, you're like, whether he plays or not, like, okay, some people will argue you want to see what you have. Why? We paid him $230 million guaranteed. He's our quarterback no matter what. Thick, thin, it doesn't matter. He's the guy.
I think it's going to get very political because I think as they continue to lose games, this legitimately could be the most talented 4-13 team in NFL history.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to get very political because you're on one hand, Deshaun could come back after not playing for 2 years, be rusty and not look great, or even get hurt. On the other,
that would be like the absolute disaster is if he gets hurt, like a serious injury.
on the other, if you're confident that he's going to come in and you can win games down the stretch, you might save the jobs of one Kevin Stefanski and even Andrew Berry starting to get some fingers pointed his way because a lot of the guys that
are highly touted, are supposed to be good.
Big name guys were not guys that he necessarily even brought in. They're Myles Garrett and these were Dorsey guys. And you start looking at Andrew Berry going, what did you bring to the team? Because all the guys that you brought here aren't doing a whole lot for us.
No, they really, really aren't. So, and he's finally starting to let some of them go. I mean, there's been a few that they've released in the last few months. So,
Well, 2-5 football teams don't generally have a lot of continuity.
no, they do not. So, yeah, so that's it for King of the North right now. Hopefully, I mean, it's regardless of what happens this week, we're gonna be the same spread in games. So.
Regardless of what happens this week, we'll be here next week with the Burning River Sportscast.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a revenue break before we wrap this thing up. You want to hold that up? Quit making that noise. Towpath Bourbon. Made from corn and... I'm sorry. Towpath Bourbon. Made from corn, barley, and just the right amount of rye, this blended straight bourbon whiskey is designed for the real bourbon lover. Intense notes of maple, cinnamon, vanilla, and oats hit you up front, rich and intense, yet balanced all the way through with a strong and lingering finish. Great by itself, on the rocks, or in a Manhattan. Towpath Bourbon.
I was a little quick on the draw there.
You know, I'll take my neat every time.
Neat's the only way to go.
Yeah, except you like it on the rocks, I'm pretty sure.
I don't.
Huh?
I've never ordered bourbon on the rocks.
Have you ever ordered bourbon?
I do. I'll tell you a secret.
What's the secret?
Because I'm not, like I enjoy bourbon, but I'm not bourbon snob.
I am sometimes. I'm not really a bourbon snob. I like most bourbon, so it doesn't matter. But anyways, go on.
But I know some good bourbons, right? Like if I'm out at a restaurant. So this is the trick that I use when I'm on like dinner outings with businesses, banks usually that take us out to dinner.
Yeah.
I'll always order like Blanton's or Weller, like something that like
Basically anything from Buffalo Trace Distillery.
Buffalo Trace. I'm like, yeah, Buffalo Trace. And sometimes they're like, ooh, maybe. We'll go check.
It's because he's very popular.
And then the guys on the other side of the table are like, oh, that must be good. Like, you must be a sophisticated man.
Well, you're just giving up all your secrets right now on the podcast. So now they know that you're just an idiot. You know 3 bourbons, you know all of them.
That's my go-to every time. That's my list.
That's fair. Those are 3 good ones to pick to impress people. So, whatever.
Well, now I should start saying Towpath. You have the Towpath bourbon.
It is a solid bourbon. If you haven't tried it, you should. All right, so let's go ahead and get into For the Land.
For the Land.
Those are almost as good as mine earlier.
Milking the cow?
No, it's the monkey.
Oh.
Have you ever seen Johnny Bravo? Do the monkey with me.
Sassy.
Yeah, see?
Johnny Bravo was my hero growing up.
Oh, me too. I love that show. It's the greatest show of all time.
And then I grew into an adult, and Johnny Manziel became my hero. He's like the real life Johnny Bravo.
That checks out for you, not for me. He's terrible. Anyways, let's start with the Guardians. Just thank you again for an amazing season, especially now that it's done and the Browns continue to be god-awful. I can't wait till you guys get started in the spring again and help wash away our Browns' misery.
How about this? How about the Guardians may have lost and their season is over, but the Evil Empire's season is now also over.
Yeah. Suck it, Yankees!
Suck it, Yankees!
F them all!
F them all!
Yeah, that guy that was commenting on all our stuff on social media, talking about the Yankees being good. Well, you guys got swept. So
yeah, how's
in case you're wondering, the Guardians won more playoff games than you did this year.
Enjoy.
So, yeah, F you.
F you.
Speaking of which, have the Browns won in October?
No.
The Guardians won more games in October than the Browns.
That's a terrible fact.
Yeah. So, there we go. The Cavs, though, officially started the season.
Did.
They're currently sitting, as of this recording, Monday night. The Cavs are sitting at 2-1, and they look every bit as good as we thought they would be.
Yeah, lost the opener in a close one, but the last 2 nights have been pretty good. I mean, They dismantled the Bulls and played a tight game against the Wizards.
Yeah, and the good thing about these last 2 games is Darius Garland. This isn't the good part, that hasn't been playing. In the opening game, he got poked in the eye. Has a laceration on his eyelid, and he's sat out these last few. So we haven't even begun to scratch the surface.
Is that a scratched cornea joke?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a stretch, but I won't think. But yeah, we haven't even scratched the surface as it pertains to their potential, because Darius Garland's not even on the court.
This team is going to be super fun to watch all year long. I'm really excited about it. Already, Donovan Mitchell's making news.
Oh, every bit as advertised. Over 30 points in each of his first 3 games. Becomes the first player in franchise history to start the season with back-to-back and now 3 straight 30-point games. He also now holds the franchise record for the most points through the first 3 games in a season with 100.
And I saw that this morning, and
that's pretty impressive when LeBron played a good chunk of his career here.
Well, and that's what I was like, that is really an impressive stretch. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, I guess to be fair, LeBron doesn't really start playing basketball until the playoffs anyway, so he kind of always coasted, especially early. But
he's not. I mean, I know that he's been up towards the league leaders in points every year, but LeBron's not a scorer. He's not looking to score first. He's a dealer, and not a drug dealer. I'm not saying LeBron's a drug dealer,
but it's not unusual for LeBron to have 30 points.
Yeah. So no, it's not. But I'm saying he doesn't typically do it night in and night out. He's usually right around that 20.
But Donovan Mitchell, baby,
yeah,
he's here.
He's a scorer. So 100 points through 3 games. So glad that the Cavs give me something to be happy about throughout the week after watching the Browns every Sunday.
I'm gonna knock on all the wood because we just need this team to stay healthy, and keep playing good basketball.
They said Garland should be back soon, so that's gonna be. Good times.
And
also, did you see a post game after this last one? Donovan Mitchell. First of all, they interviewed him after the game. And he was on the loudspeaker at the arena or whatever, and he apologized to the fans because he had 2 turnovers in the last minute that sent it to overtime. And he said, I'm sorry, I made everybody stay here an extra 45 minutes, so my bad, guys, my bad.
He's really done everybody comes here and says, I want to play for Cleveland, I want to be a part of the Dog Pound and all that stuff. He really has acclimated himself really well.
He's been rooting for all. He shows up at all the sports games. He was at a Browns game already. He's been at a few Guardians games during the playoff run. He's really endearing himself to the town.
It's nice to feel wanted, right? Cleveland for so long is this place that nobody's a pariah. Nobody wants to go there.
And little things like that, just making a joke out of it, apologizing for keeping him 45 minutes. I mean, that's going to go a long way to really win over, not that he hasn't already, but to win over Cleveland. But Darius, what I was going to say is Darius Garland came in afterwards and was kind of like razzing him and giving him high fives and stuff while he's doing his interview. So it looks like this team is already really starting to mesh and enjoy playing together. So.
And thankfully, his injury is very superficial.
It's literally just one. I mean, if anybody's ever had an eye injury or even just been poked in the eye really hard, it's hard to blink over and over again.
If you lose somebody early in the season to a high ankle or something, that's different. Like this is he'll be back in a few weeks.
Yeah, he'll be back. So super excited about the Cavs. But that's pretty much it for this week.
Let them know.
That's it for this week, right?
So are you asking what should we expect next week on the Burning River Sportscast?
That's typically what I ask you at this point.
I'll
ask it again. What should we expect next week, Kenny Thunder?
What we can expect is a recap of our Halloween Monday Night Football matchup with the Bengals.
Division rival.
Hashtag
AFC North.
Your final chance to have any type of season.
Any hope whatsoever.
Of anything good happening for the Browns. Because pretty much if you lose Monday, it's over. It's done.
Yeah.
And then we'll...
I put in here, that you didn't see this coming because I wrote this in the notes. But we have, since we are on bye, we're on bye the following week.
Oh.
Yeah, we won't be doing a preview. We'll be doing I thought it'd be a good idea to do a State of the Browns discussion, which could get pretty freaking ugly.
We'll have to think through what that episode looks like because we really haven't prepped a lot for that, but there's some interesting things we can do.
Don't tell them that. They're supposed to think we're a well-oiled machine.
I mean, we are a well-oiled machine here at Tappan Media on the Burning River Sportscast.
Burning River!
But... yeah, that could be a real fun show, actually.
I'm looking forward to just not having something that we have to stick to. We could just talk about.
Having to talk about a loss.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're probably going to have to talk about a loss before that. I'm just saying, the following week you're talking about, we don't have to talk about a loss. I got it.
Where can people find all of our great Browns content?
Well,
and Cleveland sports content.
Yeah, so Tap In Media, who proudly presents the Burning River Sportscast. You can find them on social media, Facebook and Instagram at the Tap In Media. You can find them on, I'm sorry, I do this every time. Facebook and Twitter, they're the Tap In Media. On Instagram, they're Tap In Media Official. And then for Burning River Sportscast, that's us. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Burning River Sportscast, and then on Twitter at Burning River Pod. And then if you search Burning River Sportscast on YouTube, you'll get all the video versions of our podcast as well. And then you can find the actual podcast wherever you get your podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, and more.
Yeah.
You always seem so confused at the end of our show. You're not sure what to do with your hands now?
I feel like there were two things that I missed talking about during this game, or during this podcast.
What'd you miss?
The Kevin Stefanski challenge on the fourth down play. It was like 4th and 17. And
it didn't matter anyways?
It didn't matter anyway. It's just been bothering me since yesterday that why even challenge that?
What a bonehead!
It was really dumb. And then the other thing was they did a close-in on Sione Taki's face at one point.
Was he crying?
And he just has the full face... I don't know if we call it blackface, but like... Like,
oh, he just like with the eye black. It's not blackface, but it's he covers his whole face with eye black.
Except for he like left like I don't know his eye out. He looked like Kane back when like they were pretending Kane was.
Should we be
burned.
making a bigger deal about that? Blackface is not cool to do in any circumstance whatsoever.
These guys in the NFL get away with it.
Yeah,
But I just thought it was funny that he looked like Kane. Also, this weekend marked the 27th anniversary of the debut of Goldust, portrayed by the one and only Dustin Runnels. October 22nd, 1995 at WWF, back when it was the WWF, in your house.
yeah. F you, World Wildlife Foundation, for taking their name.
Nobody cares about your pandas, trash pandas.
I do good work.
Where he took Marty Jannetty to Pound Town.
Oh wow! Straight to Pound Town.
I mean, he defeated Marty Jannetty.
Oh, that's not Pound Town.
It's said that the Vincent Kennedy pitched it, the character Goldust to him, and mentioned the word androgynous several times during his pitch, and he had no idea what that word meant. But but he knew he could make it his own, and he was anxious to break away from being just the son of Dusty Rhodes. And to this day, we've never forgot the name of Goldust.
Dude's a legend.
And don't just be a part of the problem, be the whole problem.
And only you can prevent river fires.
Burning river. Burning river. Burning rivers. Burning rivers. Urban media.
Wait, what's gonna play twice?
Urban media. Burning rivers.